Welcome back to the channel, Crypto Trend Trader, with a quick update on Bitcoin. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you it's not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. These markets are extremely volatile, so please do your own research and trade responsibly. Alright, just got our monthly close. I'm looking at Bitcoin. This is the monthly Bitstamp chart. And, I know a lot of people are looking at this as a bullish close. We closed basically, at that support level, at the previous close, from the strong rejection we got at 10.8. The previous high, everybody got really excited talking about how we took out that high. We pumped up here. We closed higher than the previous high. So we had a high, we had a lower high, and now we have a higher high. I just don't see that. I know everybody is super excited about this and getting bullish and saying, we just came back down for the retest and then we're going to push back up. But that's not how I see it. When I switch over to this chart, which I think is much more important, this is the CME chart. And CME chart, we got basically CME's open. That was our high. We got a lower high. And now here we are putting in another lower high. So the weekend price action has allowed the weekly and monthly on spot markets to close above there. But if you take into account CME's closing on Fridays, we never got that extra push up to give us that higher high to take this one out. And seeing as to how CME's opened and we literally maxed out at over 20,000 and we have only put in lower high since then. And this is our third consecutive lower high, or really second. So a high, a lower high, and then a second lower high. This also looks extremely toppy to me. You basically had a powerful move up from, a higher low down here. Powerful move back up, bullish engulfing candle, and then we're moving in a steady path, break through what you would consider the downtrending like resistance line, and then massive candle after that, at which point in time we put in what looks to me like basically a topping looking or indecision candle, and then the next monthly candle after that, we didn't quite bearishly engulf because it like gapped down slightly on the open, but we took out the low of the previous candle. So here we came down, bottomed, put in a candle, didn't even come close to taking out the low, didn't even come close to taking out the low, massive move up, didn't even come close to taking out the low. Then all of a sudden we take out the low. That tells me we're going to see continuation and we're going to look for a higher low now. That was the top of this move up. Okay, once again here, don't even come close to the low. Don't even come close. Don't even come close. Don't even come close. As soon as we take out this low right here, obviously this already looks toppy and the amount that we sell off and everything. But as soon as we take out the low right here, that tells me we're going to get continuation. That's a clear continuation. Once we take that out, and then we've established a high, now we're looking for a low. So that's how this looks to me. It looks like we've established a high now, and now we're looking for a low. So, I don't know. I guess it depends how you look at it, but the way I look at that, especially on the CME chart, looks like we topped out. And looks like we're getting ready to come back down here now. Now, are we going to come back down here to my target right here at the blue arrow at 7,000? I don't know if that's going to be the actual target, but that would essentially be, a higher low, which is what I'm expecting when we come back down here. Now, is it possible we get a massive wick? Is it possible we come down even lower? Yes, of course it is. But I would guess based on, us coming down here and essentially forming this triangle and then breaking out of the triangle to the upside, but putting in a lower high, that what we're going to do now is break back out of the triangle to the downside and put in a higher low. And then we're just going to have essentially, all we're going to do is just be making the same triangle, but just less aggressively. And that's more likely what's going to happen based on, my experience and what you tend to see in markets. We would probably see something more realistically like this. So, it's not, I can't tell you 100% that's what's going to happen, but I think it has a very high likelihood that, this is basically going to be the new range that we operate in. Now, could we come back down and find support here and then move up? Yes. Could we come back down here, find support, move up, and then get rejected again and continue in this range? Yes. Could we blow right through this and, continue down here? Of course we could. But right now, this to me, this pattern of candles right here looks to me like a topping pattern. Now we could come all the way back up here. We could push a wick all the way back up here and even take out these. But now we have a whole entire month of price action that essentially tells us that we took out the low of this previous candle, so that when it's all said and done, we're going to get continuation. Now, like I said, that doesn't have to happen, but the likelihood of us coming up here, losing strength, and then not coming down to gain strength before a continuation to the upside, that to me is extremely unlikely. At this point in time, we've moved up in a strong trend. We almost lost strength here, but then we got another push up. So could we lose strength here and get another push up? Of course we could, but again, I don't think it's nearly as likely. So let's switch back over to spot now. This is our spot market. And once again, that's the monthly. So we're in a massive bullish uptrend. And then CME is open right here. And then we sell off, put in a lower high, put in a higher low. And then we come up here. Now look, spot markets close. I'm sorry, CME's close down in here. And then over the weekend, we get the push up in the close. So we took that out over the weekend. So this whole time, the way I look at it is that you have essentially one market telling you that we put in a higher high right here. And then you have one market telling you that we did not. So to me, that's, the players are not agreeing on the situation. And they're all playing the game. So whatever you want to do on the weekend has much less bearing if it's not backed up by what happens during the week. And it happened not only on the weekly, but also on the monthly and even on the daily as well. So the likelihood to me now of that continuing to the upside is very unlikely. And now also take into account, again, we're on the monthly now. Look at the parabolic SAR now. We are right at the parabolic SAR, and we got 2 rejections in a row off of the parabolic SAR. Typically, when you take out that parabolic SAR, what happens? You come in, put in a top, you take out the bottom, okay, so we sell off here, and then we start putting it in. We come straight up to it, and we bust straight through it in one candle, okay? Same thing here. We take out the low, start putting in, come up to it, and then we come up, and then we bust through it with the very next candle. No rejections whatsoever. And then again here, sell back off, take it out, and then look, come all the way up to it again, and we bust straight through it on the first candle. And then we don't get continuation this time. So now for us to come up here, okay, and get to it, and then fail again, the likelihood now of taking this out and getting continuation to me is extremely unlikely. We could take it out, but if we take it out, I think it's more likely to be a fake out like this or a failed breakout. And that lines up with a wick coming all the way up here, as high as basically that 13,756 range. Do I think that's going to happen? No, not necessarily, but is it possible? Yes. And then continuation to the downside. That's what looks most likely to me. But, monthly is a long time frame, so it's much less reliable. It's good for the overall predominant trend, but how are you going to trade off of a monthly? So essentially, looking at it again, look, we close right here, and then on the weekly scale, we close right here. We consolidate above that breakout point where everybody gets super bullish because we're above the breakout. We're above this area right here, consolidating. And then what happens? Failed, and we get the massive sell-off. And that was the head and shoulders that I called out. And everybody that was part of my group obviously did not get wrecked. Everybody else in the market got crushed because nobody else saw the head and shoulders coming. At least nobody that I didn't hear anybody talking about it. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, what happened? Head and shoulders. Oh, I saw it afterwards. Not around here. We see it before it happens. So now look what's happening here. Everybody once again is getting super bullish because we broke out and we're above that point. But we're not. We're not above that point anymore. We've broken down below it. Let me go back to that monthly again. This is what everybody's looking about. Okay, we break above this, consolidate, and we come back to it, and they say, oh, this is the retest, and last second we get the pump up to it and save price action. Last second we save price action. So then what happens? People buy in and say, oh, we got the monthly close above it, it held support. So now all of a sudden we see price action coming in as people just buy into it, assuming we're going to get continuation to the upside. And then what happens? We put in a wick, we take out the low on this candle and continue down here, continue to take out the previous candles. And then obviously once we get down here to that 9,092 range, if we get the close there next month, it's right at the 21. So same thing, we could get a push back up and try to save price action and then continuation because we'd be taking out the previous low. So that's what I'm expecting to happen right now. It's not 100%. We've got a whole month to decide, but to me, that looks way more likely. So again, we come down here, bounce this thing, essentially the 21, and each time we get a smaller push back up. Okay, so the most likely thing to happen when you keep touching on a support like that is, if it's not getting pushed further and further away, if it's not getting a hard rejection off of it, you typically come down and break through it. And that lines up perfectly with the weekly parabolic SAR, which, we're at a decision point now because the parabolic SAR is now all the way up at 10.1. So if we come down here to 10.1 or lower, we're going to take that out. And once you take it out, you get long trending trades, trending moves to the downside. Now, once again, does it have to happen? No, anything can happen, but it doesn't look bullish to me. This does not look like a bullish situation to me. This is what happened here. We get the cross, okay? We try to save the cross right here. The red is going to cross under the yellow. We save it with this push up, massive dump, okay? We cross up here. We get the cross, save it, all right? Get the red back above the yellow, massive dump, okay? And now here we are. We get this push back up here, last second, save it, get the red above the yellow. So what's going to happen? We're going to come up to the daily parabolic SAR now. We're going to come up as high as like just about 11,000 and then dump again. Or are we just going to, roll right over here and come on down to 10.5? I mean, are we going to come back down and finally touch the 200 exponential? 10,000? I mean, there's a lot of options that could happen right here. But to me, none of them look bullish. I mean, we didn't even make it all the way up to the 50. We couldn't even make it all the way to the 50 moving average. So at some point in time, typically what happens is you retest the 50 and then you move up and through it. You retest the 50, get rejected before you even get there. You fail to get above it. What's going to happen again? If we don't get above it right here, we're just going to get smashed down aggressively. And now the 50 has a strong negative slope pulling down towards price action. The parabolic SAR is lined up with it perfectly. So if we cannot take out the 50 in the parabolic SAR, that looks to me like a hard rejection. And what's happening here on price action? We have a flat bottom, a flat blue bottom right here, okay? And then we have stair steps down on the binary pivots. So what does that mean? It means we're essentially creating a descending triangle, like with the pivots. The range at the bottom is essentially staying the same. It's the same bottom area, but we're getting steps down closer and closer. So the range is constricting towards the downside, creating essentially like a triangle pattern. So obviously this is not like your typical descending triangle pattern, but I'm talking about based on the actual binary pivots. It's just a good way to look at them. When you see it stepping in one direction upward, it means the price action is usually going up. When you see it stepping down in that direction, usually means price action is going to go down or going down. So that's what I'm looking at right now. Altcoins look weak. We already had like basically a DeFi bubble pop. I think a lot of that money flowed into Bitcoin. And, another thing too is there was that, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but this just has been making me think like nonstop as I've been hearing it. There's this guy, a traditional investor or whatever, talking about how he was losing money with cash and everything and put like $450 million into Bitcoin or something like that. Like almost $500 billion into Bitcoin with a market cap of like 200 trillion. The whole entire space is 200 million. And this guy put, 200 trillion. God, I can't even keep these damn numbers straight anymore. And he put 500 million, which is half of 1 trillion, into the space. And that's the total market cap. That's not even Bitcoin's market cap. So why, if he put that much money in, are we not seeing price move up? Why is price not moving up? If all of a sudden that much money came into the space, why is price not moving up? That makes no sense to me he says, we didn't move price at all. We bought all this Bitcoin. We did it slowly with thousands of trades, and this is bullish because he's leading the way. It sounds more like somebody trying to protect their investment. Somebody bought a ton of Bitcoin, way too much Bitcoin, in way too short of a period of time, and then all of a sudden, price doesn't even go up, and then the guys all over the media, all over every channel, all over like every possible interview you can do, talking about how it's the safe investment. It sounds like somebody trying to protect their position. Somebody trying to tell other people, hey, I did this, so it's safe for everybody else to do this. And then if you can get enough of your buddies, with the big bank accounts or big, funds or whatever managers to invest all this money too, it helps him out because he gets more people on the bandwagon. To me, this looks like, it's not like that dude can just You could say he got the money into the market without moving the market through all these trades. But how are you going to do that if you have to get back out of the market? Okay, say he's still above right now. I mean, what's he going to do? He's just going to hold it. He's going to hold it if we drop down to 4,000 again. He's going to hold down to 4,000. I don't know. I don't. Responsible fund managers, market managers, investors, they don't have that ability. They're not able to do that. Okay, they have to essentially like exit a position once they take a certain amount of drawdown or whatever. So the likelihood to me of that dude being able to take a drawdown down to 9, 8, 7,000 without dumping his position, I don't know, man. Doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense to me. If he bought in 500, oh my gosh, $500 billion, that's what it is. It's 200 billion market cap. And he bought in $500 million. So $500 million. So if you have a $200 billion crypto market cap and he bought in 500 million, $500 million, that should jump the price up without a doubt. And that's all of crypto. He's saying he bought only Bitcoin. So if they only bought Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is like roughly 60% right now of the market cap, that means like, what is that? 120 billion dollars. So if there's 120 billion total in Bitcoin based on how they calculate market cap, which is the last coin sold or last transaction or whatever times the total amount of Bitcoin, that doesn't even make sense. That means he bought like 1%. I mean, roughly. So 1%, but it's the most recent 1%. That doesn't make sense to me that you wouldn't move the price more than that. So yeah, maybe he did this like sneaky thing and they did all these transactions and they put up like sell walls or whatever. But maybe that's the same guy who has a buy wall, like stopping price from dropping down here below like $10,000. So at some point in time, is he going to pull the plug? Is somebody else going to pull the plug? Somebody else going to sell into that massive amount of liquidity? If somebody has a huge buy wall and all of a sudden we come back down here and test it again, you know, that's not bullish to me at all. That does not seem bullish to me. If he told me he's been buying in since March, slowly over time, you know, and dollar cost averaged in and has a dollar cost average of $7,000, that might be bullish to me. That might sound more bullish to me. And I'm like, okay, that's new money that's in the market that's at a good, you know, entry over time and a lot of coins, a lot of money. But I mean, assuming he bought, I don't even know when, you know, assuming he bought in through this area right here, let's say, through this consolidation, and then finally price moved up afterwards. I mean, so what? As soon as price comes back down into this area, $9,000, like, I mean, he's in danger, massive danger. Because you can't just take $450 million and be like, oh, we're down 20%. You can't just lose $90 million because you said cash wasn't safe. So I lost 45 million. I lost 90 million. I took a 50% drawdown. That doesn't make sense. You're not able to do that as a big time fund manager. Somebody that has the responsibility of that amount of money cannot take a drawdown like that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'm wrong. You know, maybe he's still accumulating and he's holding down the price. Maybe they use this to sell back down to get a better entry for the rest of their money. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. And then seeing somebody out like blatantly talking about, you know, how they put all this money into Bitcoin and everything, that is extremely bearish to me. That's extremely bearish to me. That is not bullish at all to me. Big fund managers and people with a bunch of money only tell you about their moves after they're done and after they're in a good spot. They don't tell you right away. They tell you like how Warren Buffett tells you he dumped the airlines because he wants other people to dump the airlines too. But he told us that at the bottom. And then Warren Buffett bought gold, you know, gold miners, and tells everybody about it. And it's the top because people use that big money coming into the space to provide the liquidity, to provide solvency, because you cannot just exit out of massive positions without somebody who's going to take that position from you. You have to sell your bag to someone. So I don't know. The way I look at it is that guy has just got a huge target on his head. I wish I could remember his name. I'm sure everybody knows who I'm talking about. He's all over every crypto interview, every possible spot he could, bragging about how, you're going to lose all your money with cash and inflation and hyperinflation and all this stuff. And the only good way to put it is, in something like Bitcoin. Well, gold's been around for thousands of years and proven. Bitcoin's been around for a dozen and some change, 10 years, 12 years. It's proven, but it's proven that if you buy it and then you wait for years, like, you will win over time. It doesn't mean that if you buy in the middle of a downward consolidation trend that's been going on for 3 years, all of a sudden you're going to skyrocket price. Why didn't he buy at $3,000? Why didn't he buy at $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000? Sounds like FOMO to me. Sounds like he got scared, put a bunch of money in somewhere. It took a bunch of time, a bunch of transactions, a bunch of fees to get all this money where it's supposed to be. And now he can't just pull it out quick. So he's now stuck in this market with a target on his head. Because I'm going to tell you right now, there's plenty of people that bought Bitcoin for $1,000 or $300 or $100 or $10 or mined it when it was pennies. They literally don't have the ability to sell a massive amount of Bitcoin into the market like that without crashing it. So a lot of these OG whales and stuff like that don't have an opportunity to exit out of a market. The same way I was talking about the traditional markets, having like a 30 to 50% tax or whatever, 20 to 50%, whatever your tax bracket is, or I guess at this point in time, 24, 28, whatever it is, let's say 30%. If the market draws down 30%, you're not just going to sell and take another 30% hit in taxes. You're going to wish you sold at the top. But if all of a sudden they get rid of taxes, like capital gains taxes temporarily, you're going to use that as an opportunity to exit, knowing that even if it goes back up, you're doing the smart thing, because it would have to go up another 30%, and then you pay taxes on that 30%, and you're at the same spot you are now if you get out without paying taxes. So to me, that's the same type of situation when all of a sudden you have some massive whale come in with a huge amount of money like that. Because you can't just because there's $200 billion in crypto, just because there's $120 million in Bitcoin, that doesn't mean that $120 million actually went into Bitcoin. Because a bunch of those people got the coins from mining them for free or bought them at $3 or $5 or $50 or $100. It doesn't take into account what every coin was purchased at. It literally takes the circulating supply of Bitcoin that's around, and then it multiplies that by the most recent price. So that's not accurate. So that does not mean that some dude could just sell, a massive amount of Bitcoin and there's just plenty of liquidity to soak it up. That's why these markets crash, is because there's no liquidity, especially on these exchanges. And although they're linked together, when one exchange dumps, it drags down the other exchanges. It doesn't steal the liquidity from the other exchanges. Somebody has to actually do that. Bots have to actually do that with arbitrage. And in the meantime, people get wrecked, including the person who's selling into it, causing that cascading waterfall. So to me, that's what's going to happen now. It looks to me like we have a massive setup for a perfect worst case scenario cascading waterfall dump. So maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe he's down here defending this price at 10,100 and that's what's stopping, all these wicks and keeping it from selling off further. I hope that's the case, for everybody's sake that's long on Bitcoin and bullish on Bitcoin. But in all reality, it seems like there's a dude with a big bullseye on his head getting ready to lose a ton of money. So we'll see what happens. This all looks bearish to me. Everything looks bearish. I mean, you could look at it short term. You could say, we got a buy signal. You could say, the histogram's getting ready to cross over the slope line. Looks like we're getting ready to get rejected. Looks like we're getting ready to sell back off. I mean, we'll see what happens in the next day, let alone the next 30 days. But it's going to be very clear if we break to the upside, it's going to happen. And then we can all get on the train. And that's fine. But if it breaks to the downside, it's not going to happen like clearly, and you're not going to be able to just get in and out of your positions at will. Like, we're going to dump. We're going to get a massive dump. So I expect a push up here, maybe take out that parabolic SAR on the daily, get up as high as 11,000 and then the dump? I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we just dump right here. Maybe we just skyrocket and go to the moon, but doesn't look bullish to me. The news doesn't look bullish. The price action doesn't look bullish. It literally just looks to me like this pattern. And you can't barely see what's going on the daily right here, but let's just zoom out a little bit. Get rid of the moving averages. Giant descending broadening wedge taking place right now. And we're almost back at the top of it. So if we break out here and come up to the top of this, we hit the 0.5 Fibonacci again and get rejected and put in another lower high. High, lower high, lower high. Come up here, put in another lower high. Get rejected. And it's going to sell off inside of this descending broadening wedge. And I mean, depending what the candle looks like, but you know, when we get these aggressive moves like that, when we go parabolic, it can happen the same way to the downside. So if we just go parabolic to the downside, maybe we start hitting these fib targets. I mean, come down to the 236, 94.47, come down to the 382, 7,900, 8,000, come down to the 0.5, touch the bottom of the descending broadening wedge, 6,900, 618, golden retrace, $6,000. And all that is, that's the fib retracement of this move right here. So it's not unrealistic to think we're going to come down to the 382 or the 618. But I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe it's not. You know, maybe this is starting to look like, you know, a head and shoulders kind of broke out here maybe. I don't know. We'll see. This close is going to push right back down below the red trend line. And then we come back down, test the neckline, break through this, and then start hitting some of these targets. I mean, we hit the last target right here that I had set at 10,000, and then we hit the target I had set at 11,000. So we got the $1,000 move. Before that, we hit the previous targets, sold off from the head and shoulders, got that $1,000 move. So we blatantly called out, predicted, called, whatever you want to call it, the last, you know, $1,000 move followed by the last $1,000 move. So what's going to happen next? Probably another $1,000 move, I imagine. But this time we're going to break out of this thing right here and sell back through it. And then we're going to get a real move. But is it possible that we pop back up here and retest the top one more time? Yes. But I don't think we're going to take out this high right here. But again, if we do and we start breaking out of this descending broadening wedge, it makes sense, because what happens typically with the descending broadening wedge, you come down, touch the bottom, touch the top, touch the bottom, and then you typically come the majority of the way up, come back down and retest the heart line, retest the center line, and then push back up to the top and break out. That's what happens typically. When it sells back off, it comes back down and only gets the halfway line. So is it possible that we break out to the upside? Yes, of course it is. And if we start closing up here and consolidating, I will expect to move to the upside, at least to our next target here, to put in a lower high, but at least break out of that wedge, or at least make us move this like up a little higher to, like, you know, the close or whatever. But looks to me like we're going to get rejected again and sell back off. So maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, we're going to have plenty of time to tell. We're going to have plenty of time to tell. But right now, it just looks like we're getting rejected. It looks like it was a rejection. And it looks like we're probably going to continue getting rejected. And we still have not retraced from this, you know, $4,000. We made it all the way up to 12.5. And we haven't even had a respectable pullback. So at some point in time, we're going to have to retest these fib levels. After a powerful move like this, it's not unrealistic to think we're going to retest a 50% sell-off, a 50% fib level, and put us down here at this 69.29 range. Okay? And even if we're super bullish and we get the save right here, that still puts us at 8,000. It still puts us at 8,000, a 382 retracement, and then a massive move to the upside continuation. Definitely a possibility. But to just continue on forever and not have any respectable retracements does not seem likely to me. Does not seem likely to me. And then just switching over real quick, you know, to the S&P, to the SPY. I mean, what's happening right now? We're rolling over. We're starting to roll over. Does that mean we can't get another push back up and put another higher high? No, not at all. But what happened? We topped out here previously. We came up. We did the same thing. We closed above it, consolidated, failed to hold it as support, sold back off, and found support at our previous top right here. And then we came back up. We're retesting it now as resistance. So what happens if this acts as resistance? We're going to sell back down. We're going to take out this low right here, and then we're going to confirm that we're in a downtrend even more so, because we already had a high, a low, a lower high, a low, a lower low. I would expect us to sell back off and get another lower low and do the exact same thing. Come back down here somewhere in between the 382 and the 0.618 Fibonacci retracements. Even if we retrace to the 382 and get a bullish move back up continuation, or if we do Dow theory and come back down to the 0.5, or more likely than not, we hit this 618. But I mean, this is another just massive pattern that we have playing out. And this one is not bullish. This is not a bullish pattern. This is a bearish pattern. This is a bearish topping pattern. And on the three previous, I haven't heard anybody talking about any of this stuff. And it seems super relevant and very important to me. Okay, this is the monthly time frame right here. Actually, let's switch over to the weekly so it's a little more visible. This is the weekly time frame right here, and we put in this high, put in a lower high, or I'm sorry, a low, then we put in a higher high, then we put in the same low basically. I'm sorry, no, lower low. It's way down here. And then we put in a higher high. So what's going to happen now? We're going to come down here and put in a lower low. But the fact of the matter is, we're all the way, even if we come down and put in a higher low and then get continuation, we're all the way at the top of a very clear trend line that's been holding up since, I mean, this one technically started in March of 2018. So 3.5 years ago. 2.5 years ago. I don't know. It just doesn't, it does not seem realistic to think that we're just going to get this massive burst and just continue to the upside. I mean, at some point in time, like, economies are going to matter, real life's going to matter. You know, these things can't just be propped up forever. And if you look at other markets around the world, they're not doing this. And I don't suspect that, you know, we're going to be able to continue doing this. Like, the whole fake it till you make it thing, like, only works for so long. So last time we got up to here is when I called the massive drop, and we sold off, capitulated down here. And, you know, I called the target to the bottom almost exactly to the T. You know, everybody can go watch my old video. This was our sell signal on the Stoch slope. We got the red, we sold off to the bottom. We got the blue, we ran up to the top. We're in the middle of the red right now. So is the red just going to flip back over and we're going to keep going to the upside? Are we going to get a move like this? Of course it's possible, but we're at a key resistance, you know, for the fourth time on this trend line here. So is it likely we're going to come back down here and touch this bad boy? I mean, I don't know, maybe not, but seems like a pretty high likelihood to me. So, but that's it for today. I just wanted to touch base on a little bit of this stuff. And you know, I don't see people talking about these very important things. They only talk about these things when they're convenient. So I'm all about talking about the truth and the inconvenient truth. And you know, to me, this is inconvenient, and it doesn't look good. It does not. This is not a good situation to me. Depending on what indicators you look at too, this is our third drive of bearish divergence. Third drive of bearish divergence on the stock market. So we'll see what happens. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. But I put it all out there. I tell everybody what's really going to happen. I tell you what's going to happen ahead of time. And, you know, it plays out more often than not. So time to pay attention. Crypto Trend Trader. And I'm out.